Hello everyone. I just finished a crochet project and I figured I'd show you all what I made, which is just a quick little ruffle bucket hat. And I also figured I'd go ahead and attempt to show you a tutorial. Now, if you are an absolute beginner at crochet and you don't know how to single crochet, double crochet, triple crochet, chain two, slip stitch, or any of the basic stuff, you might want to go over to another video and learn those and practice that before attempting this. So for this project, I will be crocheting in the round. And the way I start this is by creating a loop and then doing my first row of crochets into that loop. When I create my loop, I make sure to grab the tail end of the yarn because that's what I'm going to use to tighten the circle once I'm done with the first row of crochet. Since I'm doing this right-handed, I will make sure that the tail end of the yarn is on my left side because I will be working that yarn into the double crochets and make sure that I'm hiding the yarn in that way. I'm going to start this off with the chain 2 because I'm going to be doing 10 double crochets into this circle. I'm going to apologize in advance for the camera angles. This is my first tutorial like this, and I did multiple camera angles while creating this video, this tutorial. Here we're at the 10th double crochet, and we're going to slip stitch to join. Here you see me counting my stitches real quick. There should be 10 there. And you can see how big the hole is. Again, I'll be using the tail end of that yarn to tighten the hole. Once I tighten the middle to my liking, I chain 2, and I'm going to increase in every stitch. So it's going to be 2 double crochets in every stitch. It should be 20 double crochets after this row is done. As you can see here, I'm continuing to work that tail end of the yarn into my double crochets. I like to do this just to make so I don't have to worry about sewing them in at the end of my projects. You will see later on in the video that I did forget to do that to, I think, 2 of the other yarns as I was changing colors. But for the most part, I like to just work them into my double crochet so I don't have to worry about it later on at the end of the project. Okay, here we're at the last double crochet, which should be number 20. You can see that I'm still working that tail end into the row. You can cut it off whenever you feel like it. I just happen to keep working it in, so that's what it looks like in this row. Don't forget to count your stitches. All right, here is the tail end. This is the back of the circle. That's the tail. I'm just cutting it off real quick so I can continue working my other rows. It's nice and hidden. Okay, for the third row, you're gonna do your chain 2, and then you're gonna put a double crochet in the first stitch, and then you're gonna increase in the second stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch, increase in the next stitch, and you're going to keep repeating that over and over again. So this next stitch is going to be 2 double crochets. That's your increase. 2, and then this next stitch is just going to be 1 double crochet. And then the next stitch is going to be 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. So you're increasing in every other stitch, and then you should end up with 30 stitches. Here I finished my third row. 1, 2, 3. There should be 30 stitches in this row. I also ran out of yarn, so I'm going to go ahead and connect this to my other spool. I like to connect new yarns by doing a square knot. A square knot is right over left and then left over right. Give it a nice pull, make sure it's secure, and then shorten the ends. Alright, for this fourth row, we're going to be doing a double crochet in the next 2 stitches and an increase in the third stitch. And that should increase our stitches to 40 at the end of this row. Alright, so 1 double crochet in this stitch, 1 double crochet in the second stitch, and 2 double crochets in the third stitch. That's the increase. We're going to keep repeating that all the way around. All right, we're coming up on completing this row. We're going to have another increase row coming up where we're going to increase in every fourth stitch. Alright, so now that we are working on the fifth row, we're going to be increasing in every fourth stitch so we can get to 50 stitches. If you're doing your increases correctly, you should be ending off on an increased stitch. At this point, I realized that wasn't going to be happening, so I had that messed up somewhere. So I was going through trying to figure out where I got distracted and messed it up. And I'm just going to frog it back and correct my mistake. Alright, so I finally finished the fifth row and I'm just counting those rows and then showing you the size in reference to my hand real quick. In the sixth row coming up, it's going to be another increase row. So you're going to double crochet in the first 5 stitches. I'm sorry, double crochet in the first 4 stitches and increase in the 5th stitch. This should bring you up to 60 stitches after you've completed the 6th row. Okay, so at this point, 60 stitches might be enough for you. This might be a good size to fit your head. However, for my head, I have kind of a big head and I have a lot of hair. So I'm gonna do another increase row to get up to 70 stitches. To do that, I'm going to double crochet in the first 5 stitches and then increase in the 6th stitch. I'm going to keep repeating that pattern until I get to the end. Right here, I'm done with my 7th row and I'm just showing you what it looks like after the last row of increases. Again, if your head isn't as big as mine, and you could stop at 6 increases, and your 7th row would just be just a regular double crochet. I'm also gonna fit it on my head real quick so I can show you like what I'm looking for as far as how I know that's gonna fit. Alright, now that we're done with our increases, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the body of the hat. And that's just going to be regular double crochets, 1 double crochet in each stitch. Before I start that, I'm going to go ahead and switch colors real quick. When you're changing colors, you want to leave the tail end long, not too long, but a few inches, and you're just going to work it back into the crochet as you're going along the row. But you don't want the yarn to slip out, so you want to make sure you're leaving some length there. Once you get the new colored yarn incorporated, go ahead and chain 2 and start doing your double crochets. As you can see, I'm going to crochet over the 2 tail ends. This way I don't have to worry about sewing them in later at the end of my project. Make sure to remember to slip stitch to join at the end of each row. I personally did 6 rows of double crochet um, before it started to touch the tip of my ears, and that's when I decided to do 2 rows of single crochet and then start the brim, the ruffle brim. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and cut off the extra yarn ends so I don't have to worry about working over them anymore. Alright, at this point I had done 3 rows of the blue yarn and I wanted to switch back to the green yarn real quick. So here you want to do a slip stitch. Then you're going to go ahead and drop that yarn and join the new yarn in. Again, make sure to leave the tail end of the new yarn long. This was one of the times that I forgot to work the tail end into the crochet, so I had to sew it in later at the end of the project. Here I decided I wanted to alternate between the blue and green stitches like every 3 stitches for the next 2 rows. So this is me kind of figuring that out. I mean, this is the idea I decided to go with. For this, I decided to work around the yarn I wasn't using and just pick it back up when I wanted to incorporate it back into the row. So I would do a double crochet in 3 stitches and then switch the yarn color. Here I'm on the second row of alternating colors. If it's easier for you to just stick to one solid color throughout the whole entire hat, then just stick to one solid color. I wanted to try something a little different. Here is how the hat is looking after the last two rows of alternating colors. Here I'm just trying on the hat real quick to see how tight or loose it's fitting. I had a braid in the front of my head, which made my hair a little bit thicker in that area, but I couldn't tell that the hat was a little bit too loose for me. If you noticed, my hat has been increasing by 10. So it starts off as 10, then 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 stitches. But my my head's too big for 60 stitches, but I feel like it's not big enough for 70 stitches. And so I like to do 60 stitches and then do the rest of the body and then decrease by 5 stitches at the end before I do my ruffles. So I figured I'd explain how I go about doing my decreases. What I did was 70 divided by 5 because I wanted to decrease it by 5. And then that's like 14. So then every 13th stitch, I would skip the 14th stitch and then do 13 more stitches and skip for the 14th stitch. But you also want to make sure that you're skipping the first stitch and you're skipping the second to the last stitch. So that's how I do my decreases to get to 5. To get to 65. But that's it. I just wanted to make sure I came in here and said that because once I get to 70, once I increase to 70, I just go ahead and do the body. And I like to have that extra room for like my hair and everything like that. But near like where it's going to be, where the border is going to be at, I like to decrease it again because when you create the ruffles, you're going to have to increase in there multiple times and it's going to stretch out the hat again anyway. So I like to make sure I do my decreases. And I'm probably going to do 2 single rows because of the decrease to hopefully hold the decrease and then create the ruffles. That's the plan. After skipping the first stitch of the row, you're going to single crochet 13 stitches and then you're going to do a decrease. To do a decrease, you're going to put your hook through the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, put your hook through the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And that is a decrease stitch. And then we're just going to do 13 single crochet again until we get to our next decrease stitch. here's another decrease stitch. Go through the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go through the second stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through all 3 loops. Nice and snug, and it's near my ears. That's where I like to start the ruffles, but this is only one set of single crochet, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more row of single crochet, and then I'm going to start the ruffles in that row. Alright, now that we have our row of decreases done in single crochet, we're going to go ahead and do one more row of single crochet. I'm going to change my color. You can do whatever you feel works for you. And we're just going to do single crochet for this row. Since it's a change of color, I'm not going to put a marker in because I don't need it. But if you feel like you need a marker to make sure you know where you are starting and stopping at, then definitely do that, because it's more helpful than having to frog back because you realize you passed where you were supposed to be closing off at. Especially when it comes to single crochet, because you might not catch it. Double crochet and triple crochet, you might catch on that before you get there. As soon as you get there, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this is where I started at. But sometimes single crochet, you might pass it and then realize it afterwards. Now we're going to start on the ruffle brim. We're going to chain 3, and then we're going to do 3 triple crochets in every stitch. In a second, I'm going to go ahead and flip the screen so you can get a different angle. But remember, this is triple crochets, not double crochets. In the second row of the brim, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to double crochet in the first stitch and then do an increase in the second stitch, and we're going to keep repeating that step until that row is complete. Alright, for the third row, I decided to switch colors again, but it's just going to be double crochet throughout the whole row, no increases. Alright, finally done. Real quick, I'm just going to show you how I sew in one of the yarn ends. I think at the end of my project there were 3 yarn ends left out, but I'm just going to show you one so I'm not wasting your time. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I know this video was long, but it's my first tutorial. Hopefully you liked it. Let me know. Thank you for watching. Bye.